Good day, welcome to Saab Training. My name is Michael Conti, Saab Training Team Leader. I brought a few of the Saab Training instructors with me today, and we're going to spend the next half an hour with Kevin Smith on my right and Tony Land on my left, and we're going to explore the 9.5 and some of the features, advantages, and benefits, as well as some of the safety features that will help give you that leading edge as we go into the 1999 selling season. As you know, one of the major pieces that we're looking to do this year is to exceed customer expectations. And we will do that together in the next half an hour by being a proud Saab team winning through excited customers.
Hello, I'm Kevin Smith, training specialist here at Saab Cars USA. As Mike mentioned, Tony Land and myself are going to cover some of the highlights of the new 9.5 with you. We're going to talk about the distinctive design and exterior attributes. We'll talk about the interior features, the performance attributes of the car, and Tony specifically, our resident safety expert, will talk about all the safety that's built into, designed into the new 9.5 to make it one of the safest vehicles on the road. Now, all of this, everything that we'll talk about, is the sum total of the knowledge we've gained in our 50 years in the automotive industry. We have a rich heritage, and we've learned a lot in 5 decades. The 9.5 is the cumulative total of that knowledge. But first, let's talk about the distinctive design and exterior features. Saab characteristic styling begins, as with any car, with the face of the car. Now, Saab's new grille incorporates a wing shape for the center bar, which hints back to our aircraft heritage. You can see the well-rounded front end gives the car a nice clean airflow over the top of the front of the car. The complex surface headlights are 25% brighter than those in the 9000. The front bumper and air dam assembly are well integrated body color front air dam, which visually lowers the car to the road. The front fog lights incorporate a secondary bulb which shines when you turn on the turn signal to light the path of the road to the side that you're turning. We of course have Saab's side guidance reverse lights integrated into the turn signal assembly. Saab's characteristic clamshell hood opening for better aerodynamics, but also the Saab distinctive styling of the car. The wheels are 16-inch wheels with 55 series tires. They fill the wheel well area to visually lower the car to the road, give it an aggressive stance. The rear edge of the hood is upswept for clean airflow over the wipers and over the glass. The front windshield is characteristic Saab rounded windshield. There are 6 washer jets incorporated into the front, which pump the fluid at 45 pounds per square inch rather than 25 psi as before for much more effective cleaning of the windshield. Side marker lights, of course, are included on the car, which tell those alongside you of your intentions to change lanes or the direction that you're turning. The 9.5 incorporates a passenger side rearview mirror that is an aspheric design. This is the first model in the US with this feature. What it does is it gives the driver a 30% greater field of vision rearward so that vehicles alongside the car that used to be in your blind spot no longer are. This gives the driver much greater visibility. You'll see on the 9.5 the side glass is virtually flush with the side of the car, making for very clean airflow over the side of the body of the 9.5, keeping the coefficient of drag as low as possible. Saab has incorporated our characteristic door handles. For convenience, the door handle can be pulled open either from the top or the bottom, but also for safety in the event of an accident, this door handle and the door can be yanked open if need be with a tow hook or tow rope or what have you. The 5-spoke alloy wheel you see on this SE level 9.5 is the standard wheel for the SE level cars. All other 9.5s have a 16-inch 3-spoke wheel as standard equipment. From this side profile of the 9.5, you can see the wedge shape that's inherent in the car's design. It starts with a high rear deck lid angling downwards towards the nose, gives the 9.5 a very aggressive stance. It makes the 9.5 look as if it's at speed even when it's standing still. But for more functional reasons, that high deck height also gives us a much roomier rear trunk. You can see that there's no antenna mast here on the back of the 9.5 at all. The antennas are incorporated into the rear glass of the car. The third high mount brake light is up at the top of the glass. The upper grid of 3 lines incorporates the AM antenna and 1 FM antenna, while the lower grid is the defroster for the rear glass as well as the second FM antenna, which ensures that we have optimum radio reception at all times. If you look at the back of the 9.5, you see that the tail light pattern, the design of the car, visually broadens or makes wider the back of the 9.5 to give it a broader, more aggressive stance. The trunk of the 9.5 opens all the way down to the top of the bumper for convenient loading and unloading of heavy objects into the trunk. If you look closely at the top of the trunk lid, you can see that it's upswept at the back. That helps the air exit the car very cleanly, helping to give the 9.5 a coefficient of drag of 0.29. To put that into perspective, the brand new Porsche 911 has a coefficient of drag of 0.30. Now that's a sports car with a much smaller frontal surface area than the 9.5 has, and yet this 5-passenger luxury sedan is cleaner through the air than that Porsche 911 is, which is important for 2 reasons. First of all, it gives us better fuel economy than we would have otherwise. It also makes the interior space, the interior cabin, very quiet in terms of wind noise. Let's look at those interior features inside the car next. Now inside the new 9.5, you can see that it's every bit as roomy as the 9000 that it replaces. At just over 99 cubic feet of space, it's the largest car in its class. The space has just been redistributed to provide better headroom, more headroom for the front seat passengers, and more legroom as well. The layout of the dash harkens back to our aircraft heritage. Everything's laid out very ergonomically, so all switches and features fall easily within reach. Now we'll highlight some of the features in the dash of the 9.5, starting with the headlight switch. The left position is fully off, but that's daytime running lights. Center position is parking lights, and the right position is full headlights. Just below that switch in the same panel is the switch for the rear fog light and the rheostat control for the dash lights. Just to the right is the switch for the front fog lights, which only function when the headlights are in the fully on position. New for the 9.5 is a steering wheel that adjusts not only telescopically for reach, but also up and down for height. Just to the right side of the steering wheel on the dash is the TCS switch for the traction control system. Only Saab 9.5s equipped with the V6 engine have the traction control system. Just above SID is the switch for the hazard warning lights, and we have an integrated cup holder in the dash. Now most of the functions on SID you're already familiar with previous models, but there are 2 upgrades worth mentioning on the 9.5. The new SID incorporates the date along with the outside temperature display, and night panel is improved so that it not only turns off the gauges, it also dims the backlighting of all of the switches on the dash. The stereo system in the 9.5 is similar in many ways to that found in the current body style 900. However, it does have a single disc CD player standard on all 9.5 models. The functionality of many of the switches you'll find familiar from the 900, but there are 4 features on this smart radio in the 9.5 that are new. They're worth covering. Number 1, if you press and hold the weather band button and then turn the power of the stereo on, the first thing you come up with is the start volume. You have the ability to program a preset volume for the stereo to come on every time you start the car. If you press the seek arrow, you scroll over to the telephone volume. The 9.5 has a hands-free telephone system, and you'll hear the conversation of the person you're talking to through the stereo system. This is where you can program that volume through the stereo. Scroll on the seek button again, and you can turn loudness on and off there. Scroll one more time, and this radio, just like the current 900, is speed sensitive, so you can turn on the speed volume or turn it off. When it's on, the volume will increase and decrease with your road speed. To get back to the normal radio settings, just press the weather band again, and you're right back to the stereo. Now the seek button's on this, a quick press, and you've got seek. If you press and hold the button, you go into manual tuning mode. But once you've got 6 presets, you can store those on the stereo system, and these features of the seek button and of the volume button are duplicated on the steering wheel. So you can turn up the volume and down the volume, and you can seek up and seek down. There's also a next button on the steering wheel to scroll through your presets from preset 1 to 2 to 3 and so on. Down below the radio unit is the automatic climate control system. The automatic climate control system in the 9.5 should be somewhat familiar to you as that in the 9000. Many of the functions are very similar. However, you'll notice that the climate control system in the 9.5 has two temperature zone readings, one for the driver and one for the other passengers in the car, right front and rear seat passengers. The driver's temperature controls control the airflow for only the driver, and the passenger temperature controls, when someone's seated in the passenger seat, control the temperature for the rest of the occupants in the car. There are a few programming features on this control system that are new to the 9.5. One is the ability to automatically turn on and program the rear window defroster so that every time the temperature outside is 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, the rear window defroster will automatically come on. Another one is the recirculation feature, whereby when that is turned on to automatic mode, the car will automatically revert to recirculation when it's at or below 6 miles per hour, so you don't have to smell the fumes of those cars around you in traffic. The 9.5 is available with heated seats for both the front and rear seats. The driver's side control and passenger side control for the front seats are 3-position rheostats. While the rear seat is heated, it has only one on-off switch. The 9.5 is also available with optional ventilated seats. These are the world's first ventilated seats in a passenger car. They function by pulling the air away from your body through perforated leather seat covers down channels in the seat cushions themselves and exit out the bottom of the seat to pull the heat away from your body in warm temperature climates. The overhead console of the 9.5 incorporates the microphone for the hands-free telephone functionality, also the inside cabin air temperature sensor for automatic climate control, and also, of course, the switch for the dome lights, off position, on with the doors open, and on all the time, the map light overhead, and the switch for the sunroof. To tilt the sunroof open, press the switch up. To close the sunroof, press the switch forward. And to open the sunroof with one touch, push back and release. There are many features designed into the rear seat of the 9.5 as well. The rear seat headrests adjust in 3 positions forward. There's 1, 2, 3, or they flip all the way down for the driver when there's no one in the rear seat to provide better visibility. The center rear seat passenger has a 3-point belt for safety. There's also an armrest integrated into the seat back. Storage within the armrest. Dual cup holders that slide out of the leading edge of the armrest. And for versatility, a pass-through behind the armrest for carrying long objects in the car. If the pass-through doesn't suffice, the rear seat folds down in a 40, 60, or 100% configuration by simply folding the seat bottom cushion forward, pressing on a latch handle on the top of the seat back, and pulling the seat back down and forward. We've just seen how comfortable the passenger cabin is on the new 9.5. Now let's talk for a moment about what gives the 9.5 its wonderful, comfortable ride and spirited handling characteristics. Saab's first multi-link independent rear suspension. Now this new design incorporates the use of a subframe with 4 isolating bushings to isolate the vibrations from the road from transferring into the chassis of the car. It also incorporates the unique use of ball joints as pivot points for both the upper and lower control arms. By doing so, we control the geometry of the rear wheels through their range of suspension travel. Keeping the geometry consistent keeps the tire patch with the road surface consistent, giving the driver more predictable, better handling automobile. That's what makes the 9.5 so much fun to drive. It's really an improvement over the old 9000 with its solid rear axle. We've covered a lot of features on the new 9.5, but let's talk about the models that it's available in. The standard 9.5 has a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder light pressure turbo engine. There is an optional 3-liter light pressure turbo V6 engine for that standard 9.5, which is also standard equipment in the SE level 9.5, as I have here behind me. The new light pressure turbo 4-cylinder engine is not the same engine you're used to from the 97 9000 CS. This new engine's been redesigned, internal components lightened, piston rings redesigned for less friction within the combustion chambers, so that the new engine puts out 207 foot-pounds of torque at 1800 RPM, compared with the old light pressure turbo 4, which put out 192 foot-pounds of torque at 3200 RPM. With the new engine, we have more power, lower in the rev range, for longer in the rev range. As you know, Saab engines are designed to win torque wars, not to win horsepower wars. That's why we have maximum torque down as low as possible for as long as possible in the rev range. Now let's focus our attentions on the new 3-liter light pressure turbo V6, the world's first asymmetrically turbocharged engine. This new engine has the exhaust pressure of 3 cylinders spooling the impeller of the turbocharger to provide boost for all 6 cylinders of the engine. That's a world's first. In comparison, this engine has 229 foot-pounds of torque as low as 2100 RPM. The old 3-liter V6 engine that we're used to had 199 foot-pounds of torque at almost 4000 RPM. So this is a much more user-friendly, flexible power plant for power on demand when the driver needs it, because we have maximum torque at 2100 RPM all the way up to a little beyond 4000 before it begins to drop off. Whereas the old V6, you had to rev up to find that power spot. Saab engines don't have torque curves, they have torque plateaus, and that gives us real-world performance. Now we've talked about the engines that get this 9.5 moving and make it such a fun car to drive. But these performance attributes of the 9.5 also help you avoid accidents by having that power on demand. However, some accidents are unavoidable. So let's next hear from Tony Land to cover some of the safety attributes of the new 9.5.
Hi, I'm Tony Land, one of the many safety engineers that had the privilege to design the Saab 9.5 as being the safest Saab ever produced. If you know the Saab history correct, you also know that we are talking about one of the safest cars in the world. The safety design of the Saab 9.5 is based on a concept called real-life safety. How do we know what real life is? Well, Saab knows that through their own accident investigation that has been going during the last 25 years. Up till now, we have approximately 6,000 accidents involving Saabs in our database. All that knowledge is implemented into the Saab 9.5 to make it perform at its best out there on the streets and on the highways, and not only in the lab. That real-life performance will be shown in this test film. These two Saab 9.5 have a closing speed of 75 miles an hour. It is an frontal impact with a 50% overlap. Neither of the passengers sustained any serious injuries. As you can see, both front ends are totally crushed, absorbing all that energy, and the passenger compartments are all intact, not deformed at all. As far as we know, Saab is the only car manufacturer that uses these extreme conditions to validate the crashworthiness. We know that we are the only manufacturer that dare to show it to the public. How is it possible to achieve this kind of safety level? Well, let us go into the car and I'll show you. For the front end, real-life safety demands a design that performs well under different crash conditions, like speed, angles of impact, and different objects hit. To achieve that, you need to distribute the crash forces over as much as possible of the front structure. We are doing that in the Saab 9.5 by using triple load paths, 3 on each side of the car. We have the primary load path surrounding the engine bay going into the firewall and down through the floor. We have the lower incorporated in the drivetrain cradle, and we have the upper going through the wheel housing into the A-pillar. The rear structure of the car is designed in a similar way as the front end, for the same reason, distributing the forces as much as possible through multiple load paths. The gas tank is safely located in front of the rear axle outside of the crumple zone and shielded from any protruding objects. The passenger compartment, or the safety cage, is an extremely rigid system of steel members. The parts most likely to be subjected to the highest crash forces are reinforced with high-strength steel and extra metal thickness. All the joints are carefully designed to avoid tearing, one of many features that makes this cage so outstanding. There are many others, out of which 8 right now are pending patents. One of the high-stressed and reinforced parts of the safety cage are the A-pillars, due to the very common accidents involving moves to car in Sweden. To accommodate this real-life situation, Saab actually has a crash test to simulate this kind of impact. A test which is only one of 40 different crash tests that we use. Of those 40, only 10 are required by different legislations.
In a side impact, there is no crush zone, so we have to handle the crash forces in another way. First, we do distribute them as much as possible through the doors, the door beams, A, B, and C pillar, and the rocker panel. Nevertheless, when the impact speed increases, there will be intrusion into the car. What typically happens when a B pillar intrudes into the car is that it protrudes in the height of the thorax where the human body is as most vulnerable, but not in the Saab 9.5. We have designed the B pillar for real-life conditions, and that means 2 things. First, the human body can take most stress in the hip area, down here. Second, we have designed the B pillar to do exactly that. When impacted, the upper part acts like a hinge, allowing the lower part to intrude into the car. That is also right now a pending patent. I would like to show you a few of the many safety features inside the car. Up front, we have second generation depowered airbags. All 5 seating positions in the car have 3-point seat belts, whereof the front seating position have pre-tensioner device. The new feature there is that they not only deploy in frontal impacts, but also in rear end impacts. I'm also very proud to be able to present the world first active head restraint. We all know that the most common injury in car accidents are the so-called whiplash injury. Unfortunately, the medical society cannot tell us exactly what is a whiplash injury, but they do agree upon the root cause to it, which is the whiplash motion. What we have done is to design a headrest that reduces or take away completely that whiplash motion. During a rear end impact, the force from the crash pushes the occupant into the seat. Inside the seat back, there is a pressure plate connected to the headrest with 2 steel rods. Once the pressure plate is activated and moved rearward, the headrest moves up and forward, all in milliseconds, to catch the head as it is attempted to whip back. It's simple, and it's mechanical, and it functions in real life, not only in the lab. The front seating positions are equipped with side impact airbags, which are located in the seat backs right here. The unique thing with the Saab side impact airbags are the sensors located in the front door cavities, using the air pressure as the medium to detect a crash. So when the front door is impacted, the sudden increase in air pressure deploys the airbags. I have shown you some of the many safety features that the Saab 9.5 has. By doing so, I would also like to raise a little warning, because it is so easy to get the impression that all you have to do to make a safe car is to throw in a bunch of safety features like airbags and door beams. That is not the case. It is not that easy to achieve the safety level as we have done with the Saab 9.5. You have to have the knowledge how to tune all of these safety features into one. When you manage to do that, that's when you are able to make a Saab 9.5.
In the span of this short video, Tony and I have only touched the surface of the technology that's built into the new 9.5, in hopes that we can communicate to you at least the basics you need to effectively communicate the strength of this product to your customers. If we can communicate this product to the customers effectively, then we can keep the 9.5 from being the best kept secret in the industry as the 9000 has been before it. Let's look forward to being a proud Saab team, winning through excited customers, selling the Saab 9.5.